Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Urban Update. I'm Byron Barnett. On the show this morning, we'll bring you up to speed with the latest challenge coming from Boston Mayor Marty Walsh's office as he makes a specific ask to holiday shoppers. Also on the program, we'll talk to a Brookline firefighter who claims the town of Brookline has not properly handled what he says is a racist incident and is now looking for a third party to investigate his claims. But up first, according to a new report making the news this week, Latinos in cities such as Boston, Somerville, and Chelsea are mostly absent from positions of power in these multicultural cities where the demographics have shown a dramatic boom in Latino residents. Commissioned by the Greater Boston Latino Network, the data shows that there is a, quote, silent crisis of underrepresentation in local government when it comes to one of the fastest growing groups in the Commonwealth. The 78-page report also urged cities to make including Latinos in leadership positions a priority and recommended that communities be vocal about their demands of government. The Greater Boston Latino Network is a collection of community-based organizations who relied on census data, municipal websites, press accounts, and phone calls to quantify the number of Latinos in leadership positions in municipal government. Now, to tell us more, we've invited two members of the Greater Boston Latino Network, Alexandra Oliver-Davila. She is the Executive Director of Sociedad Latina. Also with us, Juan Vega, President and CEO of Centro Latino. Welcome to Urban Update. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Alex, let me start with you. Before we get into the specifics of the report, can you just sort of tell me a little bit more about the Greater Boston Latino Network, what it is, since that's the group that really commissioned the report?
We are a group of Latino-led community-based organizations in the cities of Boston, Chelsea, and Somerville. We actually started conversations many years ago, I think all of us off the cuff, and then about 2 years ago we formed the Greater Boston Latino Network, and we really focus on looking at the underrepresentation of Latinos in city government, and we're also focusing on making sure that we are at the decision-making table, that there's a pipeline for future Latinos to be involved in government, and we're also really going to be focusing on resources for Latino-led organizations and taking a closer look at philanthropy as well.
Okay, now Juan Vega, your organization is one of the nonprofits that make up the Greater Boston Latino Network. Tell me a little more about, I guess, the process you went about in organizing your group.
Sure. As Alexandra mentioned, we convened about 2 years ago formally as a way to create a support network amongst ourselves as nonprofits. And we have taken on this task in particular of looking at representation because we see, as the report lays out, that reflective representation is a key component of having good government and having better neighborhoods.
Okay, I think we've got a graphic with some statistics on Latino representation in City Hall. This is Somerville and Chelsea right now. The cities, here we go, there's Boston. 1 in 6 residents are Latino, yet just 1 Hispanic serves in the city's 13-member cabinet. Latinos make up the largest enrollment of Boston public schools, but only 2 Hispanics appointed to the 12-member search committee for a new superintendent. Also, what we have there among the city's nearly 400 seats on boards and commissions, just 7% of appointees are Latino. Alex, I guess my question was, why was it so important to get this report done? But I guess the answer is there in those statistics, is it not?
I would say yes. I mean, obviously this is something that we all have seen on a daily basis. It affects us as we move in city government, as we move in philanthropy, but we really wanted to make sure that we had the research to really be able to document that and show that. But the statistics are pretty dire, and if you look at Chelsea, for example, it's even more dire and very concerning.
Now, Juan, I guess how important was it for you to get this report out, into the media and into the hands of the people who can really, make some changes, like Marty Walsh, for example, the mayor of Boston?
Sure, Byron. As you well know, as we all well know, there's a huge discussion happening now in this country about how people of color in general, and Latinos in particular, are going to be able to be engaged in their communities, and how we're going to be able to, affect changes for the better for our families. This report, it was important to get out to the media, to that public discussion, because we feel that, as we've said, we feel strongly that reflective representation at those levels, decision-making levels in government, are going to make those local governments more effective, and therefore really is a way to get people engaged in changing this situation.
Now, Alex, the Greater Boston Latino Network announced its finding at an event in which the mayor, you put this report out, the mayor was right there at the same time announcing the first Office of Diversity. Now, how did that come about?
Well, we actually started meeting with the mayor last spring, and we met with him as a network when he was running and posed our concerns, and then we started meeting with him last spring, and we really pushed for how could we work together, and I can say that that has been very positive, that he has decided to work with us and really take this on. We did push for this diversity and inclusion team, and so we feel like there'll at least be some accountability with this team of external stakeholders that will represent all communities. So although we are very focused on Latinos, really this is about all communities of color.
Okay, let's talk about some of the other communities. Juan, we talked about Boston, but there are two other cities that sort of stick out in the report, Somerville and Chelsea. Let's take a look again. Here we go. Somerville, city's Latino population 10%, but Hispanics account for less than 2% of positions of power at City Hall. Chelsea, the city's Latino population is more than 60%, but Hispanics account for just 14% of positions of power at City Hall. I guess your thoughts on those stats in Somerville and especially Chelsea, Juan?
Sure. I mean, we certainly, I think, collectively are not generally surprised at what we live on a day-to-day basis on. The report was not designed to be a gotcha kind of tool. We wanted to demonstrate with data what this reality was. And for each of those communities, the three communities named in the report have a very large concentration of Latinos in this region, in the Commonwealth. And we as organizations all generally operate in these three communities. And we felt that we all had an ability to contribute to the response, to contribute to changing these numbers and changing these statistics.
Now, Alex, this is something we've been hearing about actually for a long time. In your view, the invisibility of the community in positions of power, do you think, I guess, what impact do you think this report is going to have? Is this going to be the beginning of something new somehow?
I think because we actually decided as a network that we wanted to approach the mayor in a way that was collaborative. I can see that already it's making a difference, because the fact that he announced this with us, the fact that he took really seriously this diversity inclusion team, and that there's going to be benchmarks set in terms of hiring, in terms of looking how people are hired, creating a pipeline, et cetera. So I think it's already doing that, and we obviously are in conversations with the other two cities to really do the same type of work and really do it as a collaborative effort, because again, this is a Latino focus, but it is really all about communities of color.
Were you talk about the most, I guess, any surprises in this report for you, or eye-opening things that you saw in this report? Either one of you?
I mean, I think for us it was not eye-opening, because we talk about this on a daily basis, that we are underrepresented and we are not in any decision-making tables, and we always find things out later. We're not involved in some policies that are made, et cetera. I would just say personally for me, because I'm mostly in Boston, that I was really shocked by the Chelsea statistics. And just dismayed because of the large Latino population. I had just expected to be a little bit more, but I wouldn't say that I'm completely blown away by these statistics.
One of the things in the report, you're asking the communities to get involved. How can average people, what can they do to get involved and support?
Sure. As the mayor intends to do by setting up this diversity office, and we should mention that the other two communities have also received the report well, and we're hoping to continue those conversations with them. I think in all three cases, and as well as other communities where this is going to be an issue, the main task is to identify talent within the community, create pipelines for people who want to serve, and that's where I think the public needs to, in many respects, learn about how they can serve as a volunteer on a board, on a commission, as well as professionals serving in executive level jobs.
We've seen in recent weeks here the problems in Ferguson, Missouri, and in New York. particularly in Ferguson, the importance or of representation, City Hall representation in the community and what that means. I guess talk to me about, in our just remaining moments here, about the significance for people who may not really understand why is it so important to have a government that reflects the community that it's in.
Because a government that is, it has to be reflective but also active. So you have to have a large number of people who understand the community. If residents see themselves reflected, they feel that they're being considered in terms of any situations that they have, et cetera. I mean, evidence shows that when you actually have a bureaucracy that actually is reflective, that changes will actually take place because people are from the community. They will understand and they'll push for changes in policies and programs.
And then when you have a government, people in positions of power that is more reflective of the community, doesn't that also go to trust too? When you have tough times, when you get into these sticky situations, you need to be able to trust your leaders and trust your police departments, because that's something we didn't see when things got pretty heated in Ferguson.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, as a country, certainly we all embrace representative government. It's a very simple concept that I think generally the public understands. And we're taking it to that next step that says people that, we want, in order for government to work effectively, you need buy-in from the people who are being governed. And when there's a distance, when there's a vacuum between what the average resident sees as affecting their life, and they don't see themselves or their, especially we think about youth, seeing reflection of leadership that looks and talks like them, there's an increase in buy-in.
Okay, and we'll have to leave it right there, although we could go on and talk about this all day, I think. Juan Vega and Alexandra Oliver-Davila, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Congratulations on getting the report done, and we'll see what kind of results you get from it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, when we return, a challenge to support local businesses during the holiday season. All the details when we come back right here on Urban Update.